Okay guys, Captain Paul here, and today I want to talk about this week's video, which is going to be driving other people's boats. Why it might be a good idea to just stay on the sidelines and figure out how to, the best boating is on somebody else's boat or driving somebody else's boat. Like I get to drive a boat at work every day, and just to explain it real quick, I'm a boat captain at Little Palm Resort. And I drive a ferry boat back and forth, and we're at the shore station on the half an hour and on the island on the hour. And so every half an hour, I work the 3 o'clock shift. So from 3 o'clock in the afternoon until 3 o'clock in the morning is basically the shift that I cover. We're usually out of there at midnight, but it's always fun burning somebody else's fuel instead of you paying the bills. And that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. But before I get started, real quick, last week we talked about my connection, getting my connection back with God. I think this week I'm going to get the tattoo that says Genesis. I've always wanted one. And then God created heaven and earth. That's the first part of the scripture. So anyway, I hope you guys got a little giggle out of that last week. And, when I first started this channel, it was about, it was about my life. And then I got into the boating, and I said, hey, if I can help one boater, now I've helped thousands of boaters. And now it's same thing with God. If it's just one person, maybe that's why we're on earth here, is to, not preach. I don't want to use that word, but, just share the gospel of God. So, and that's what this year I told you guys that I'm getting back into my God, and it's not for everybody, but those guys that do believe in it, it may encourage you if you see a tattoo of me that says Genesis and, God created heaven and earth. Maybe you can open the Bible up and just look at it this week, is something like that. Anyway, leave your comment down below what you think. Anyway, this week we're going to talk about, burning other people's fuel, because I really want to break down the expenses. Because even if you have a budget, and I'm just going to throw $100,000 budget out there, and then what's it cost after you bought the boat? Because I think that's what's really, separating right now of whether you can afford a boat or you can't afford a boat. And I don't think people grasp that. And I see a lot of boats on the market, and then we find out why they're not maintained properly and why they're not taken care of. Because I think the true cost of owning the boats now has it's tripled in the last few years. And I can use those examples on what's going on Southern Estate right now, because right now it needs to get insurance this year. So the insurance policy, I think it's next month or the month after that, the insurance comes up on it. But for me to get full coverage insurance on Southern Estate, I have to have an out-of-the-hull survey done. So just this year, if I want to keep full coverage insurance on her, it's going to cost about $5,000, which is a little over $450 a month just for insurance on this boat. I think when you see the true cost of something like that, it makes you think. So even after you make that $100,000 investment, or your $75,000 or $50,000, it doesn't matter. If you want full coverage insurance, you got to conform to what the insurance company wants, what they want, an out-of-the-water survey. That costs $1,600. The pulling it out of the water is $600, but the surveyor is $1,100, so that's $1,700. And then the policy is about $3,500, so you're looking at a total of about $5,000. That's how I come up with that number of $400. And that same insurance that I had 3 years ago or 4 years ago when I started this, and I was on Loop Princess, that premium was about $700 a month. So it's almost tripled in these last 3 or 4 years. And I think that's what we're seeing, the divide here, because as a captain over at Little Palm, I get paid $25 an hour. But if I've got to pay $450 a month just for insurance for this boat, I mean, can I really afford it? And the answer is no, I can't. That's why it's not making, the boating market's not making any sense right now, because after you've purchased the boat, that's just one expense. Then you got the expense. This boat right now needs an air conditioner, needs a bottom job, and a few other things. And I'm just going to throw a nice round number out there. It needs like $10,000 worth of work. So to complete that, that's another, it's $1,000 a month right there, almost. It's like $800. Let's say. That's me doing all the work. If I have to pay somebody to do that work, it's typically, when we were in business, it was always material times 3. So if I need $10,000 worth of materials, it's actually about $30,000 worth of work if you have to pay for it. And that's not too far-fetched. I had a comment the other day or last week of a guy saying, isn't that a little far-fetched when you say an air conditioner costs $10,000? That's the installed price of the air conditioner, because the parts and everything are about $3,000. Then it's times 3. So then, you got about $6,000 in labor, removing the old system and putting the new system in. And I'm about right on that. And I can use Rich as an example on the Virginia Hawkeye, because, just for him to replace a couple of toilets and have his davit system put on the back of the boat last year was $17,000. Now that included the price of the toilets, and then it would count all the labor. So, do the math. At $200 an hour now is what they charge for mechanic work on these boats. It's getting to where if you cannot work on the boats yourself, and I want to hear your comments down below, it's really something you should consider whether you're getting into this market or not, because living this lifestyle is one thing, but affording it is another thing. So when I'm paying already, I haven't even got out of bed, let's say, yet, and I'm already paying $500 a month basically just for insurance on the boat. And you've got to have insurance if you're going to go into any marina. Now, you can be a derelict and just, throw your anchor out somewhere. But even then, now that's even getting tougher and tougher as the market goes. And that's not the way I boat. So then, if you're breaking that down there, so we got the expenses of what this boat needs, and that about a service. So if I do the AC, the bottom job, and service all the engines, what I absolutely know, just the parts on all that's going to be right, with the bottom job, right at about $10,000. And then, so if I was paying somebody, that would be about $30,000 worth of work that needs to be done with this boat. The boat right next to me, they took it to the boatyard this year. I think his bill when he got out of the boatyard was somewhere right around $40,000. And so you just got to remember that when you're going to purchase one of these 40-year-old boats, that just because you made that initial investment of, let's say, $60, $80, $90, $100,000, after you've made that purchase, you still got to maintain it, own it, and do you keep it properly maintained, or do you just try and wiggle your way through it, or did you buy something that doesn't need a lot of maintenance in those first few years? And that's the way you got to look at it. But I can tell you right now, for any boat that's in salt water, it needs constant maintenance all the time. And if you don't have that budget of, let's say, at least $1,000 a month to maintain, that doesn't count insurance or slip rent or anything like that. It's just to maintain your trawler, from the money that it's going to need for like new equipment, let's say electronics, or because all this stuff fails over time. But engine service work, water pumps, just all of it, it all adds up very, very quickly. And I think the guy that, like me, that makes $25 an hour, we're getting pushed out of this market because you can't work for a $25 an hour job and then afford to even own this boat right here. There's no way. I mean, if you look at the numbers, it does not line up, and it doesn't work. So it's just something to think about, and I don't want to be negative, because then you could go to saying, hey, I'm going to drive other people's boats, and that's what, that's an option that you have. You can go out here and I can make a living driving other people's boats. And I do it right now. I work at Little Palm, and I get to drive and crack the throttles on we have like three main boats that we use all the time. And it's fun. And you guys that have these Volvos, you're killing me. The Volvo engine, the Volvo, we just got our brand new boat, the Bess, which is a Grand Craft 37. It's the same as the Truman, which is an all wood boat, but the Bess has a Volvo, twin Volvo D4s in it, and you know what? That boat almost burns half the amount of fuel that the other boats burn. So I love that. Seeing a savings like that, but even in the price that I'm talking about doesn't even count the price of moving the boat with fuel, because now fuel's gone up to like $5 a gallon. So, and just in a quick example here, because I don't want to bore you with a bunch of details here, but slip rent has tripled, insurance has tripled, and these are just fixed costs of owning this boat. It's all tripled in the last 3 years, because this slip rent right here where I'm at in off season was $700 a month. It's now $1,600 a month. There is no off season rates. Insurance was $700 when I got into Loop Princess. Now it's well over. It's like $3,300 $3,500 was the last policy from last year. This year I would imagine it's going to go up a couple hundred. It's going to be $3,500, somewhere around there. And that seems like the quotes that I'm getting from everybody else too. If you want to have a boat, a full coverage boat insured in the state of Florida, one way around it is buy a trailerable boat, and once you do that, that changes the insurance. Or get out of Florida and move it like up the river system where it's a little bit safer and you don't have to deal with the hurricanes and stuff like that. That's another way I'm seeing quotes that now of, you know, somewhere around $1,200 to $1,500. Anybody that watches this channel and they have a boat, let's say Decatur or Florence or Iuka, how much are you guys paying for your full coverage insurance, just so we know? But I think even that rate has probably doubled, maybe even tripled since you guys got, because you were probably paying about $500 even a short time ago, which is 4 or 5 years ago, and now it's probably somewhere around $1,500 a year right now, I would say. So you just got to look at that, when you're putting your budget together for your boat, whether you're getting ready to do America's Great Loop or whether you're getting ready to do whatever, whether you're going to live on the boat or just cruise up and down the East Coast, you got to start thinking about all the other costs that's associated with owning these boats. And I've seen a lot of these boats come on the market. We've talked about it in past videos where it's rough because, once you buy the boat, I don't think people realize the monthly cost that it costs, because it really does cost, by the time I pay my slip rent, my insurance, and everything on this boat, I'm probably looking at somewhere around $3,000 a month. Well, I don't even make that in my salary, so how do I afford that? But that's the true cost of ownership, and that doesn't count a boat payment. I've been working on a few deals this week, and I've got 2 Larry deals going on. Both guys are named Larry. Larry's looking at a 86 DeFever he found, and he got that at right around that 130. He found it on Craigslist, actually. Looks like it's going to be a pretty decent boat, and he's going to keep moving forward with a survey on that one. And then I have another Larry that's looking at a different, and he was like looking at boats, and he's like, his budget's like 200,000-ish, but he went and he found a Carver that he really liked, and the price was 220,000. So he says, well, I'll finance half of it, and I'll keep half of it. But what he found out was that it's 11% interest right now. So he's got to make that payment plus pay all those additional costs that I'm talking about just to own the boat. So this is the cost without owning, carrying any paper on it. And he said, it's ridiculous. He goes, I'm not paying anybody 11% for anything. So he goes, that just eliminates that deal. And that's why it's making these boats harder and harder to sell, because if you don't have cash, the market gets very, very tough very, very quickly. And if you're paying somebody another additional $400, $500, $600, $700, $800 a month just for interest, just so that you can own that boat, it gets ridiculous. Who can afford that? Not a $25 an hour guy, not even a $50 an hour guy can really afford that. So I think, we are getting pushed out a little bit. I do think it's getting tougher and tougher. And I really want you to think about that when you're looking at a boat and when you're purchasing the boat, to realize that just because you purchase the boat, even if you do pay cash for it, there's still quite an expense after the purchase of the boat. And again, I want to hear your comments on that. A bunch of boats that we're working on this year, right now, not this year, I mean for sale. You guys know that the main ship closed. The Ranger, we're still waiting for some mechanic work to get done on that, so we can get that one started, but that one should be sold. So all the upper end boats have sold. Tim's boat over there in Louisiana, I think that's just a timing thing, that we catch the right person looking for a boat on that side of the coast. I think that one will sell because it's got really good engines in it. I think there's a lot of value there. And he's at the, for a 40-foot DeFever, he's at that $60,000 price range, and somebody would probably pick that up for $55,000, maybe $50,000 if they talked real nice to Tim. We'll see what happens with that one. And anybody out there that knows, I'm in the market right now. I got somebody that was really wanting a Tollycraft. A lot of them out there right now. I've been on most of them. We've done surveys on a few of them. I found another one in Fort Myers that we're looking at right now. And that's really in the low end range, because that thing's like $30,000. But it needs a lot of work. But then I said, well, what do you mean by that? Because is it better to pick it up for $30,000? I think we talked about this a little bit in last week's video, and then build it up, you know, and I'm saying if it has like that $50,000 after the $30,000 purchase, so we can get this boat up and running, might be worth the investment, because of all the other ones out there right now that we're seeing. And I'm not saying they're all junk, but there's a lot of them out there that are being misrepresented and not in as good a shape as you would hope, paying, you know, $150,000 to $130,000, even $200,000 for these boats. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this week's content. There's a lot going on behind the scenes that you don't know about. As Southern Estate is getting a marine survey for insurance this week. I think it's actually next Monday. So I've been running around. I put new fire extinguishers in her. I've got to make sure all the running lights are working. Just routine maintenance and stuff like that on her, because I want to I hope she passes her insurance inspection and everything goes well with it. And we'll know next week what's going to happen with that. If it doesn't, they're going to go switch over to liability insurance, because that is a way when you guys are looking at these boats that you can switch. And instead of putting full coverage insurance on it, you can just buy a liability insurance, because I think that price drops to around, on Southern Estate here, it'd be about $300-400 a month just to carry liability. And you have to have that liability insurance to get into the marinas and stuff like that. I also want to, thank, all the Patreons and all the guys that reached out over this last week. You know, we got a bunch of boats. The Fever 44 is Larry found that boat, and that one should be getting that thing should be going into survey next week. I'll keep you guys posted on it. He found it on Craigslist. It appears to be good. It has the Lehman engines in it. Those boats are really hard to find with the Lehmans. Most of them have the Perkins in them. Some of them have the turbocharged engines, but this one has naturally aspirated Lehmans in it. So I think everything looks good on the surface, and the hull looks amazing. It did have a couple scratches from a storm, so we'll see. But when we're talking about paying that $130,000 price range for an 1886 DeFever, I think it's that the value's there, because I said the next one I know about is Debbie's, and hers is going to be, that's a 99 DeFever, and that one's going to be up there past the $200,000 mark range for if you want to get into something like that. Anyway, anybody interested and needs any help, whether you're buying or selling, just contact me and I'll get back with you. My plans are this year is to finish out at Little Palm. I love driving the boat. I love cracking the throttles on that, especially the new boat now. It'll do 36 miles an hour, almost getting up there close to 40 miles an hour once you crack the throttles. And believe it or not, those Volvo engines, it amazes me, because this has got the new Volvo engines are D4 240-50 horsepower engines, 250 I think each, so it's got 500 horsepower total. And we're only burning, because I fuel the boat up every single night, we're burning about 60 gallons of fuel, 55 to 60 gallons of fuel a night, which is almost, not quite half, but it's almost half of what we're burning when we burn on the big boats. So anyway, that's you guys that are driving these Volvos, don't knock them out. I also went aboard a 80-foot Azmat. It was a 78, I think. Azmat had triple 1,000 horsepower IPs Volvo engines in it, and believe it or not, those you can get 2 miles a gallon out of those, cruising those at about 8 knots. But then if you want to jump up to 30 knots, that's what's so nice about them, is that you can those boats it's actually capable of doing almost 30 miles an hour, and has a cruise speed of about 22 miles an hour. So that's very, very cool. And even then, with those IPs, those drives, they even get better fuel mileage, because on our boat we have shafts and props. But with those IP drives, I've heard that they even get better fuel mileage, especially with those big Volvos. So running 3,000 horsepower of Volvos, the problem with the Volvo engines is the mechanics and getting somebody to work on them. But again, I'm curious to see what happens, now that we have some time and we're actually driving a Volvo, a new boat with Volvo engines in it. I'm really curious to see how much maintenance and how much time down it has in this next year, just to see, what it's like and stuff like that. Anyway, guys, peace out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Make sure you hit that like and subscribe. Anybody wants to hit that super thanks, we do appreciate it. And make sure you're, you Patreons, thank you guys so much. And anybody wants to join the Patreon, I appreciate it. Got a bunch of videos coming out in that in the next couple of weeks. We got a lot of little projects that we're doing on different boats and stuff like that. Anyway, peace out. Thank you guys so much for watching. I do appreciate it. Bye.